Welcome to the P's and Q's podcast. I'm your host, Winnie Foray, and I'm living my best life, and I want to help you live your best life. This episode is brought to you by The Good Shit Company. At The Good Shit Co., we make an herbal cleanse that detoxifies your body while aligning your chakras. We truly believe that good shit starts from the inside out. Check us out at www.thegoodshitco.com or the link in the description. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my journey with Candida overgrowth. It's kind of a unspoken topic that so many of us face without a lot of options on how to heal. So I'm honored and grateful to be able to share my journey with you all. But first, 3 fun facts. Fact number 1, I love to twerk. Number 2, someone asked this in the chat, and I appreciate you all for sending in your comments for the 3 fun facts. And it is, do I have any tattoos? And I do. I have 6 now. I just got a new one in Tulum. I don't know if you can see that. I just got this tattoo in Tulum about a month ago. And for me, it represents amor fati, which is a Latin phrase that means love of fate or love of one's fate. And it's basically, to sum it up, everything happens for a reason. Number 3, you guys know I love to travel. And there was a question about where was the first place I went. And the first place I ever traveled was to Japan. All right, let's get into it. Candida. Some of us have never even heard of Candida. I know that was me. Before I started going on this journey, I had no idea what it was. I never even heard of it. So it made sense that when I was going to doctors, they were telling me that I was a Looney Tune, that I was making up all these symptoms that I had, and it's mind-blowing. What is Candida? Candida is basically a fungus or a yeast. They're in the same family. And this organism lives within all of us. It's actually the organism that will decompose our bodies when we transition from this physical existence. So we need it and we require it. The only thing is, it's a very opportunistic organism. And at any point that it gets an edge, it is going to take it. And then it's going to start creating this environment that is toxic for our healthy bacteria to thrive, and it will become the dominant species in our ecosystem. Extremely opportunistic. So things that can help it thrive and help it build this toxic environment that our healthy bacteria can't thrive in are things like antibiotics. Well, yeah. How many times have you been prescribed that every time you feel any type of way? Contraceptives like birth control, the hormones in the birth control, just poor eating, diets, too much sugar, too much carbs, which metabolizes sugar, stress, and drinking too much alcohol, which also metabolizes as sugar, because what does the Candida eat? It eats sugar. And so I was going through this stage in my life, and I think what I did to give myself a Candida overgrowth was definitely involved with alcohol. I eat pretty well. I don't eat a lot of processed foods. I think I manage my stress pretty well. I do everything I can to stay away from antibiotics. I will be on my deathbed before I'll take some antibiotics. Although I was on birth control at the time, so that could have been a factor, but I've been on it for so long. But I found myself in this place where my body was reacting in a way where I was breaking out in hives. I would wake up in the morning and there'd be these big red splotches on my arm, on my back, on my legs, and they were like kind of itchy, but not like a histamine itchy. And I couldn't understand what was going on. And I went to a doctor and I told him was that what I was experiencing, and he wanted to prescribe me antibiotics or antihistamines. And as much as I appreciated the fact that he was trying something, I kept saying, but what is causing it? I know you want to solve the problem, but I want to understand the root cause. Why is this even happening? Am I allergic to something? Or are we just going to wipe it away and then I'll keep eating it, whatever it is that I'm allergic to? And I didn't take the antibiotics. I didn't take the antihistamines. I've just figured, okay, I'll figure it out myself. I've always been really good with my health and my wellness. And I found myself in Australia for a friend's wedding, and I'm on the Sunshine Coast in Noosa, beautiful city. And I'm getting ready for the wedding. We had a lot of fun, and we drank a lot. So I'm getting dressed, getting ready for the wedding. I take off my clothes. You know, girls, we don't care, like, la, la, la. And one of the other girls saw this giant rash that had gone from, like, the left side of my torso all the way to the other side, kind of like in the same line where my jeans were. And she looked at me and she said, you have overgrowth of Candida. And I said, what is Candida? I've never heard of this thing. I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours every day online, reading this, reading that, understanding this, understanding that. Like, how did I even get this? Where did it even come from? I came to a lot of conclusions. And for me, in that time, I think one of them was like, I was drinking too much. I like to slide. I'm a slippery slope. I can be quite indulgent and quite celebrative. And I love a glass of champagne or wine or a lovely espresso martini. All of them. Tequila, todos días. Love them. Oh my God. And for me, I was doing too much sugar in my body from alcohol created this environment. From this experience, and thank God for that wonderful goddess for helping me start down this path, I created a 4-step system for myself to help myself heal. And the first thing was to starve it. Starve that thing of its nutrients, which is sugar. So I spent a period of time removing sugar from my diet. That means natural sugars as well. I didn't eat fruit, which I love fruit. I generally break my fast in the morning with fruit. No fruit for me, no artificial sugars. I didn't even use like fake sugars, stevia or anything like that. I really stuck towards no sugar as much as possible. It's really challenging because so many things contain sugar, but let's say the most minimal amount of sugar that I could. Step 2 was to start the process of actually attacking the Candida, killing it. Now, obviously, we need some of it in our bodies, and I would start this part of the process by giving thanks to the Candida, giving thanks for this organism being a part of my body because I require it to live and to thrive, but knowing that there's a part of it that needs to be balanced. Fortunately, there are so many natural things that help balance our Candida overgrowth. Things like cruciferous vegetables, that's the kales, cabbages, Brussels sprouts. All of those cruciferous vegetables have capric acid inside of them. And capric acid is a natural Candida fighter. Also, things like coconuts and coconut oil and MCT oil also have capric acid in them. So this is a great way to fight Candida. At your local health food store, you'll probably also see supplements that are specifically designed to help fight Candida. Then we have step 3, and we're going to repopulate the gut. That's repopulating our gut with really healthy, happy bacteria. Probiotics, basically. And there's so many ways to get probiotics. You can take them in a pill form. There are so many different foods that contain great probiotics that we can eat, and making sure that we have prebiotics as well, which is what the probiotics eat. So each step is critical in and of itself so that the next step can actually take a hold of our system and thrive. And then the 4th step is to heal the gut. So what happens when Candida overthrows our system is that within our small intestine specifically, imagine the lining of your small intestine being like a net, like a fish net of some sort. The Candida then covers that area and surrounds it. And what it does is there are these things called tight junks, and they sit really tightly together inside of the lining so that in between particles of nutrients can get into your bloodstream and you can be nourished. What happens is the web that it creates on the edge starts to break those tight junks apart and loosen them. So larger particles get into your bloodstream, which is abnormal. And so once those large particles get into your bloodstream, your blood cells go on the offense. They're like, hey, bro, you don't belong here. You're not from this neighborhood. You are not wanted here. And they attack. And that's when your body starts attacking itself. And it creates things that we call autoimmune challenges. Most of these things are stemmed directly from Candida overgrowth. And so we need to start repairing those tight junks and get them back closer and closer so that the small particles that we require to come into our bloodstream can find their way without those larger particles creating a high alert system within ourselves. And it's interesting because there's so many symptoms of Candida that just sound like regular symptoms. Bloating, fatigue, brain fog, autoimmune challenges, low libido, all of these things that just sound like, oh, that's just like regular stuff. Sure, yeah, it happens. But generally, it's the start of Candida overgrowth. Studies say that 72% of the U.S. population has an overgrowth of Candida, and most of us have never even heard of it. During this process, for myself, of healing the gut, which is step 4, repairing the tight junks using things like collagen from bone broths, really soothing my gut, drinking lots and lots and lots of water, helping myself, removing things like nightshades from my diet that can also be natural irritants that we're very familiar with. Nightshades are things like peppers and eggplants and so many of the things that we love. I know I love them. However, they have their own natural protection from pests. They're built-in pesticides within their skin. And those pesticides get into our bodies and irritate us, whether we recognize it or not. There's so many people who can't even eat nightshades. Most of us eat them without really knowing that they're affecting us. But when you're doing something like this, we want to remove any potential irritants from our bodies so that we can continue to heal deeply and truly. And part of that for me was also things like coffee enemas. Coffee enemas, I forgot to mention, I also did at step 2 for helping to balance the Candida, and I also did at step 4. For step 2, coffee enemas are great for killing parasites. And Candida can create this toxic environment that parasites thrive. Not only is the Candida then a parasite because it's overextended itself, it also creates a place for other parasites to thrive as well. So add coffee enemas at step 2, and then also for healing, coffee enemas as well. As you add these coffee enemas and you help the Candida balance to its natural levels, those parasites, including the Candida and other parasites that might be thriving, as they die within your body, it's going to create a hexamer reaction. A hexamer reaction is when those parasites die, they release their toxins into your bloodstream, which makes you feel kind of bad. It could bring up feelings of actually feeling like you have a cold. It could make you have a cold. Headaches is a very common hexamer reaction. Lethargy, brain fog, all of those things that the parasites are actually causing, as they die, they will again potentially cause. So it's really important that as you balance these organisms, we get them out. And you know what I mean by getting them out. They gotta go. And that's part of why I created the Good Shit Company. Both my business partner and I have suffered from different health challenges, and we're using our products to help us heal. So the Good Shit, which I'm so grateful for. So during step 2, 3, and 4, I was very adamant about using the Good Shit, knowing that as I balance this Candida, starting with step 2, killing it, I'm going to have to flush myself out. I'm going to have to get this shit out along with these parasites. And the Good Shit is the best product I've ever used in my entire life to give myself a full, gentle, elimination, and it works every single time. And I've used all the stuff. I've researched everything, I've used everything, and using my own product has been the best thing for me. And I'm so grateful to have the access to such a product. It's so important to keep our bodies moving completely. This is the oil change that we need. This is that quarterly tune-up that is required. And during this Candida cleanse, it is imperative for our own mental, physical, spiritual process to get those parasites out quickly. That's part of why The Good Shit is now an official company. After using it for myself for years, I realized that it's time. We can't be the only ones who are going through these types of challenges, and it's time that we bring this product to market. So it is our gift to you. I have not had any Candida experiences since then. It was about 2016 when after doing all the research, going down the rabbit hole, trying things that didn't work, trying things that did a little bit, putting this system together, putting the good shit together, that I was able to really change my life. And trust me, I still love a good glass of champagne. I drink wine. I have a good time, but I'm extremely conscious of what I'm putting in my body and making sure that I'm also keeping my system clear. Nothing's backed up here. We ain't having no backups on this 405 freeway. You believe that? You hear me? Thank you guys for being on this journey with me and giving me the opportunity to share my life and my lessons with you all. I appreciate all your feedback so much. I know this topic is slightly kind of embarrassing, It's oh my God. How can we learn and grow if we don't share our experiences to help one another? So I love you. I am so grateful for you.